Okay, this is part 2 of some ideas for calendars for 2022. And I first want to give credit to a couple of folks for their influence in these calendars. One is a lady who is part of the North Carolina demonstrator group. Her name is Tamara Davis. And last year, Tamara put together a really cool project that used some of these frames, and I'll give you some more information on these frames. And she put a kit together that folks from the group were able to purchase. And the kit allowed us to make a calendar that hangs in this frame. And it was for 2021. And these are a couple of the months that I made from the kit that Tamara put together. And Tamara, if you ever watch this video, truly, thank you, thank you. Brilliant, brilliant idea. And what I'm really appreciative is that I can recycle the frame that I used to make the 2021 calendar. This is the frame, and I'm making a 2022 calendar out of it. I've changed up just a couple things in the design, but I thoroughly enjoyed this project. And I have had this calendar on my desk all year round, and I've truly used it and I've loved it. The other person I want to thank is Ann Forrest, and she is part of our Stamp Club group. And she inspired me to think about a way to use this frame differently. So the one on the left, I've already talked about, is the one that Tamara really influenced. The one on the right is one that Ann influenced. And we're gonna kind of talk about both. I'm going to start with the one on the left, and I want to show you the frame and the binder, loose leaf binder hooks, loops, whatever that I'm using. This is a Tolsby frame. It's meant to hold 4x6 pictures, papers, whatever it is that you would like to display. And it is double-sided, as you can see. And as you can also see, has a really cool stand. So it's very, very useful. These are available in many places. I got mine on Amazon, and I'm not trying to promote Amazon. I'm just saying that that was one place that I found these, and they are fairly inexpensive and very useful. The loose sleeve binder hooks, loops, these are 1 inch in diameter. They come in different sizes. And this is a group, I think there were 100 in this package. And I also got these from Amazon, and I can see they're called loose leaf binder rings. Rings is probably a much better description. And they do have an opening, so we can get them in and out. So if you're looking for anything to make this project, I would just suggest checking your favorite stationery supply or check out Amazon, because they will have some of those. And the first one that I'm going to talk about is this project. And if you have looked at the video that we talked about a little bit earlier, where we made a box calendar. So there's another video that goes through this. I'm going to use the same calendar in this project that I used on the box project. And this is a calendar that is available from Concord and 9th. It is a free PDF, and I really want to thank them for being so gracious as far as allowing people to download their calendar. They've got some gorgeous, gorgeous calendar products that you may want to take a look at. Some really, really cool items. I've printed this off on just regular old 8.5 by 11 paper. I did add the months in on the PDF that I printed out. The original comes just with the days of the week and the actual numerals for the month, not with the month itself. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the vertical lines, and I'm going to cut this paper. So I'm just putting it into my paper trimmer. This is the exact same first step that I did when I made the boxed cards. or box calendars. So exactly the same thing, just putting this in, getting it as lined up as I can. And again, I'm not going to go completely loopy. And cut 1 month out. And then I'm going to cut the second month out. And when you look at the download, you're going to see that in addition to individual months, you also get a really nice cover sheet that has 2020. And then there is one more sheet that has all of the months. So it's a nice little reference. This is what all of the months look like. So you could put a really nice calendar together using that. And if I can find the 2020, I will show it to you. And if I can't, I will look for that in just a minute. Here it is. I put it on the back of one of the frames. So this is the 2022 that actually came with the calendar as well. So some really cool components that you can use. So what we need to do on these is we need to cut these down to a size. The first one I'm going to talk through is the hanging one. We need to cut these down to a size that will fit in this hole. And that hole is a little bit less than 4 inches and a little bit less than 6 inches. Because when you put a picture in, you're going to put the picture in this opening. And obviously it's not going to fall through this hole. So in order for us to be able to use that opening, we need to make our pieces a little bit smaller. So they will be able to fill up most of the space, but still free to move through the space. And the way that I figured out was the best way to do this was to aim for a piece of paper that was, this is my little cheat sheet. This is where I started with. I got a piece of paper and I measured and figured out how big it needed to be, and a width of 3 3/8 and a height of 5 3/8 works really, really well. Well, the next trick is, okay, if I have these pieces where this is 8.5 and these are centered and blah, blah, how do I get it so that it looks nice and it hangs well? And here's what I figured out. And I'm just going to use one of these. So I'm going to take one of my pieces. I'm going to grab my paper trimmer. And this is, again, very, very similar to what I did for the other calendar. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take one side. And on one side, I'm going to cut 5/8 of an inch off. And not to insult anyone's intelligence, if you go to 1/2 an inch and then go 1 more 8, that's going to be 5/8. So I'm putting it at 5/8. And I'm going to cut that off. I know that I need this to be 3 3/4 or 3 3/8 wide. Well, I've already cut one side off. So if I flip this over and I put this at 3 3/8. So let's think about this. 3 3/8 is going to be 1/8 before 3 1/2. So 3 3/8 is going to be right there. And I'm going to cut that at 3 3/8. All right, so let's kind of check this out. Here's my frame. Yep, that's going to work really nicely. It's going to fit in there really well. So the next thing is, how do I get this to 5 3/8 where I can have more of the month showing toward the bottom? I don't want a whole heck of a lot of space down at the bottom. So I played around a little bit, and what I decided is that if I take 1 1/4 off the bottom, so I'm going to pop this back in. I'm going to put that at 1 1/4. And I'm just going to take 1 1/4 off the bottom. The reason I chose 1 1/4 is for some months, you're going to have 6 rows of numbers, like in October, because there are 31 days and the first day is on a Saturday. So I wanted it to have enough room for 6 rows of numbers. And that's why I chose the 1 1/4 inch. I know this needs to be, let's see, 5 3/8 inch long. So I'm just going to now put it into my trimmer. Make sure I'm cutting the top and cut that to 5 3/8 inches. So that's going to be the perfect size that will swing in the frame. And we can see that that is going to work just fine. So the last thing that I did was I said, all right, how am I going to make sure that when I put these rings in and I attach the calendar, that they are going to, the calendar will hang so that it will fit in the frame and still have enough room at the top so it can move. And I did a couple of little measurements. And the way to make that work, at least the way I found to make it work, is you want the holes, because we're going to punch 2 little holes. You want to go 3/4 of an inch in from either side. And then you want to go 3/8 of an inch down from the top. And I just built a little cheat sheet. So I can put this template at the top of my calendar, and I don't have to think about it every time. Put a little mark where I want to punch my holes. I'm not going to punch the holes. It's pretty self-explanatory that that is what you would do. But you would punch your 2 holes there. And the result is going to be a piece that looks like this. And those holes are going to allow that to hang where you want it to hang. So those are the bones of how you build this. And then it is up to you. It is absolutely whatever you want to do. And I just started playing a little bit. I have not finished my calendar, but I wanted to show an example of one of the months that I did. And on November, I love this stamp set, the Gorgeous Leaves stamp set. I decided that I wanted to do a little bit of stamping at the top. And the way that I did this is I took a Post-it note and I just put it over the month. So I put my Post-it note right over the month. And then on the top of that page, I did some stamping. I did some sponging. I actually used one of the blending brushes, and I think this is Bumblebee that I sponged toward the bottom. And I just added that as my November design. I have full freedom to do anything that I want on here. You could put designer series paper. You could do whatever you want. So this again is just a really, really, really fun way to make a hanging calendar. So this is the one that was influenced by Tamara Davis. Now I want to show you the other idea. And this is the one that was influenced by Ann Forrest. Remember that this frame is designed for 4x6 pictures, memorabilia, whatever it is that you want to put in it. Well, what's kind of cool and fun is that the memories and more cards that we have, the larger ones are 4x6. So I had some memories and more cards, and I thought, wow, that would be a brilliant way to make a calendar and to put it in a frame. And I just cut out these, the months. I just figured out how big I wanted them. And this is something that I would recommend that you kind of figure out how big you want yours. And you can definitely use the tear-off calendars in this kind of example as well. The calendar size isn't as persnickety in this design as it is in the one that we just looked at. So you have a lot of freedom on this one as well. But I sticked with the PDF that we've been using, and I just cut it down to the sizes that I liked. And then what I did is I went through my memories and more cards, And for each of the months, I picked out some that I thought were super cool. And I just started, I haven't finished these. I will be embellishing them a little bit more, but I just put my calendar together, chose some that I thought the designs represented the months pretty well, with either foliage or things that might be going on at that particular point in the year, you know, the fall, and then November getting closer to the holidays, and then this one for Christmas. And what I started to do, and I really only have January as an example, is I started to put some more layers on the months. And a couple of cautions that I would give on this. And one is, I don't recommend that you put a lot of thick bling on here. Sequins, I'm not sure that I would recommend. Some layers of paper. You can see these are punched snowflakes that I put on, and some strips of a coordinating color cardstock. The reason I don't recommend these being really thick, actually there are two. When you put your calendar back into the frame, if you use the plastic pieces that come with the frame, which I'm going to, I think, and you put them, you slide that piece along with your calendar back into the top, it's pretty snug. And if you had a lot of thickness, you might have trouble. Also, if you used a sequin or some other bling that's a little scratchy, you might damage the piece of plastic that is on the front. But, you know, don't limit yourself to decorating the paper. Decorate the frame. You can do some really fun things. You could swap it out for each month. And don't forget, you have another side. So if you're like me, and let's say we're in the month of January, I like to be able to kind of look forward to the following month if I'm planning something, or, you know, just to get an idea of what the next month might look like if I have certain things that happen on certain days of the week. And what's nice about this calendar too is it's two-sided. So I could have my January and my February all together. This is a great calendar and a great way to present the year with a lot of different options. The one thing that you will need to do is make sure that you know where your remaining months are. And what I would suggest is, if you use the Memories and More cards, you could take one of the empty boxes and you could put the cards into that box so that you have them handy and you don't lose them. But let's think outside the box for a second. You don't need to just use Memories and More cards. Designer series paper, anything. Cut it to 4x6. Or in the Memories and More cards packs, there are smaller cards that actually are half, so they're 3x4. They would look fabulous as part of the design as well. But again, infinite possibilities. So I invite you to play. These are projects that don't happen in 10 minutes. You know, it may take a little bit more time to do them. But if you use them as gifts, if you use them as a gift for yourself, you are going to appreciate what you've done the entire year. And they really are worth the effort. And I am going to enjoy both of these. Each one is going to have a different place in my craft room or in the house. And I also have 2 more frames that I'm going to be working on as gifts. So I hope this inspires you to try something, you know, a little different, just, and make it your own. The boundaries are endless and you can really create what you want. So I hope you like it, and I would love to see what you make.